Hi, I'm Mutable Explorer, and these are my 5 favorite alternate win cons in Commander. Coming in at number 5 is Azor's Elocutors, a 3/5 creature that costs 3 generic mana and 2 hybrid Azorius. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a filibuster counter on this card, and then if you have 5 or more filibuster counters on it, you win the game. Anytime a source deals damage to you, you have to remove a counter from the card. I need to stress, this is not an easy card to win with. Any player who can read is going to see this as a threat from a mile off, but it is funny. Sure, there are ways to stack counters like Proliferate, it could fit as a goofy side piece into that Kilo precon from last year, and depending on your board state, you might be able to tap and untap him enough to win on the spot with this one. More than anything though, I like that this one references the political aspect of Commander. This card is a threat, sure, but can you convince your pod that maybe somebody else is a bigger threat? If you can get them off your back for a turn or two, this one might take them by surprise. Number 4 is Battle of Wits, an enchantment that costs 3 generic and 2 blue that says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 200 or more cards in your library, you win the game. I know, it's a meme card. But what if it wasn't? I gotta be honest, never in my life have I seen somebody win with this one, but it's an interesting thought experiment to try and build around it. A tutor or two, a way to shuffle your graveyard back into your library. There's also just the logistical hurdle though, of having a deck with 200 plus cards in it. I mean, I feel like people could tell, right? As soon as you slam this bad boy down on the table, they're gonna be looking for this specific enchantment to drop, so you'd need a way to protect it as well. But just imagine if it worked. Number 3 is another enchantment that doesn't see a whole lot of play but is a real flavor win, and that is Liliana's Contract. It costs 3 generic and 2 black, and it comes with an ETB effect and an upkeep trigger. When this enchantment enters, you draw 4 cards and you lose 4 life. Then, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. I love cards like this, where the way that it functions on the table matches the art and the character it portrays so well. This is what a Deal with the Devil card should feel like, taking a big risk but with a potentially bigger payoff. And with the recent release of Lorwyn and its plethora of changeling cards, it's easier than ever to get a bunch of demons on the board. This is one I'm definitely looking into building around. Number 2 goes to Near Death Experience, an enchantment that costs 2 generic and 3 white mana. This one might be the hardest to pull off in the entire list. It states at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 1 life, you win the game. So you have to cast this and then wait potentially 3 turns while you are at 1 life for it to resolve and net you a win. I have racked my brain trying to figure out how to make this one feasible, mainly because I absolutely adore the art by Dan Scott and the flavor text at the bottom. I mean, look at this. It fits so well with the theme of the war against the Eldrazi, this bloody, intense conflict where so much was lost. The only thing I can really think of is somehow giving your own spells flash with something like Vidalcan Orrery while having a self-damage trigger you can use to get yourself down to a single life. Maybe if you're some kind of master tactician, you could use Jade Monolith. There's a card you pretty much never see. And coming in at number 1, a card that is near and dear to my heart, Maze's End. This is a land, but it's a very special land. It is the only land with a win condition stapled to it ever printed in Magic. Maze's End enters tapped and can be tapped to add 1 colorless mana, but its activated ability below is where it gets really interesting. See, if you pay 3 generic mana and tap Maze's End, you return the card to your hand and search your library for a gate card and then put it onto the battlefield. If you control 10 or more gates with different names at that point, you win the game. Gates are a type of non-basic land that were first printed with the release of Magic the Gathering Foundations in 2024, and without the inclusion of Maze's End, they really wouldn't be all that special. Most come into play tapped and function as dual color producing lands. Most of them are common or uncommon rarity, and are usually upstaged in effectiveness by the recently re-released dual color shock lands, or by lands that provide you some kind of benefit when they enter, like surveil lands or lands that deal damage to your opponent. enchantment. But Maze's End changes all of that. It creates this really interesting mini game inside of Commander, and it opens up all sorts of possibilities for your deck. It can be a secret win con inside of a deck pretending to be something else, because you're not slamming down expensive rare lands every turn. Your opponents might not mark you as a threat until it's too late. Now, granted, this is still much more difficult than winning in a traditional sense with, say, an aggro deck that just attacks your opponents head on. You would need some way of ramping, putting multiple lands onto the battlefield during your turn, maybe even something like burgeoning that lets you put lands down on your opponent's turns. It's tricky, but Maze's End is my favorite alternate win con in all of Commander. I would love to hear your favorite win cons as well. Drop a comment down below and be sure to let me know if you've ever won a game of Commander in an unexpected way. Thank you for watching.